into animation, but like you're not really sure what discipline, like maybe you want to do modeling, lighting, or like FX. Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, like obviously in animation, it's a really big term. Like it's kind of an umbrella term. If you go into animation, there's a lot of different disciplines you can go under it. There's like modeling, lighting, effects, sim. There's a lot of different stuff. I specialize in character animation, so what that means is anytime you see a character on screen performing, acting, doing dialogue, that's all done by character animators. And today what I wanted to do was kind of take you a little bit deeper into like the kind of behind the scenes of what we do and how we bring a character from start to finish, just how we take a character that doesn't really have any life innately and how we interject our artistry and like kind of bring that character to life, right? 'Cause that's what all of this is about. And if I can make a character that is like lines on a piece of paper, like drawings, if I can make that, or like pixels on a screen even, if I could get you to care about this character and like get you to believe that they're real and like thinking and kind of autonomous, then I would have done my job as an animator, right? And today I'm just gonna talk about the shot that I animated. This is not a shot I did at work. This is something that I did kind of on my own personal time. And for me, I like to do this kind of stuff every now and then. I like to animate outside of work to do stuff that I like to do and what kind of interests me individually and personally. And in this shot, it's a little bit, I don't know if you guys are familiar with blue sky movies, but we're kind of known for doing like the big, goofy, cartoony, kind of gag-oriented stuff, right? And I kind of like to do more subtle, emotional, kind of like smaller stuff. And so this test, if anything, is really just an exploration in character performance, right? It's what happens when you take a character and kind of a minimalist philosophy, and they're kind of in this vulnerable state, like maybe even a little depressed, right? What do they look like? Like how does their internal mental state affect their body and their movement and like how they say words and all that kind of stuff? And it's really like that minutia of the details that really bring the characters to life, right? And as animators, even like animating a breath, like a character taking a breath in, we're kind of implying that there's oxygen in the space that they inhibit. Whereas like there's not really, right? Like we're kind of like pretending and faking it. But all that kind of stuff really lends to making a character feel believable and feel real. And when we see that, we don't really like notice it like right away, but we subconsciously kind of take it in. And it's like the craft of animators to kind of like really slyly put that stuff in there so that you feel it without really ever like really noticing it, right? So hopefully I did it in this shot. If you guys don't think so, then this is gonna be a really terrible 20 next minutes. But I want to show you this shot, and yeah, hopefully, like again, like my goal for this was to do something that was it's a character saying this line of dialogue, and he feels really depressed, and he's talking to his friend about it, and he's kind of in this vulnerable state where he's telling how he feels, and the character off screen is kind of just listening to him, and he kind of goes. He feels like he's depressed, and what he's doing in his life currently isn't really living up to his potential. And so I wanted to animate that and see what it looks like for someone to like perform that, right? So let's go into here. We'll take a look at it, and we'll kind of talk through. Again, I'm gonna take you through I'm gonna show you the final version of it, and I'm gonna kind of take you from the beginning to the end process of it. Oh.
Like I know there's more to me than that.
Let's do that one more time.
That depressed feeling is back, you know? Like I know there's more to me than that.
Cool, so yeah, this is a shot that I did on my own personal kind of time. And this is the final animated version of it. Obviously I can do a lot of stuff in post, like lighting and effects and like model set or whatever. But with this, I was really just concerned about the animation part of it. Like I said, I specialize in character animation. So I want to do something that was really focused in on that, right? And again, this is the final version. From the very beginning though, like what I like to do when I do a shot like this is I absolutely have to do a lot of research. And doing research is kind of like preparing for, I don't know, like a marathon or a hike or something like that. You really have to put in the prep time before you go off and like spend weeks on this kind of thing. Or like sometimes I do shots at work. It takes I did a shot just recently on Spies where it took me like almost 2 months to complete the one shot. And it goes by in like 10 seconds. And then you're watching the movie and you're like, oh, I spent like 3 months on that. That's cool. But yeah, so like doing all that research ahead of time is gonna help you for all the weeks kind of coming ahead, right? And I see a lot of animators don't really go deep into it, and they want to just rush to the computer. and that's gonna be it's gonna be really difficult for you. So I kind of want to show you guys what I like, some things that I look at when I do my research, right? It's mostly like looking at other movies. Like I like to look at actors and other performers, TV shows. I could be inspired by literally like any show. And it's so bad that I'll watch a TV show now and like I'll see a good performance and I'll pull my phone and be like, oh, that's a really cool thing. I gotta find that later. And it totally ruins movies for me. But I don't know. I find that fun for me to do, and I like to build like my library of references I just could like, always refer to. So we'll take a look at. Oh, before that, another thing that I do kind of in this first stage of it is I'll do a lot of like trying to figure out what else can work, right? So it's really good to explore like different versions of like what a shot could be like, and don't think that that's like a bad thing to do, like you're wasting time. Because I find that for me, if I get all the mistakes out ahead of time, like in the very beginning process where it doesn't take me a lot of time to do that, I can move confidently forward knowing that my version is the best one. Because I've seen the other versions, I know what they look like, I know it doesn't work. So I can now I can just kind of move forward with the one that I know that does work. And this is another kind of staging, like an alternate version I did with this shot. Again, I'm taking a look at different ways I can stage it and different ways I can portray the character elements in here, right? And in this version, I had him talking to his friend. Ultimately, like you saw, I had him off screen. But in this version, I'm playing with the idea of having him on screen and him talking, doing a dialogue with him on screen. But this didn't really work because now you're kind of looking at this guy over here, and I don't really like his design. I think he's kind of like an ugly character. I don't really want you to look over there. And then I felt like when he's finally said his line, I felt like this guy should say something afterwards, and I didn't want to do any more work and like have to animate. Or it's just more work. Like I don't want to do that. I'm kind of lazy. So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna focus just on the one delivery of the line, right? So I finally like went to the first version that you guys saw. Oops. But again, I like to do a lot of research, and this is kind of just like to show you like all the folders and like files that I have and like lists of things. I find like this is like super helpful, especially when you're in like a creative block and you can't think of something like to really find. I like to just go out and like look at all my research and like kind of just really be inspired by all this kind of stuff. Has anyone seen this movie, Star Trek? Sorry if I spoil it for you. You should have seen it by now, so it's your fault if you haven't seen it. But like I said, I like to look at different movies and like actors and performances, and this one by Benedict Cumberbatch really stood out to me just because in this particular scene, all of like the emotion and like his face being like really flexible and all this kind of stuff, it really like spoke to the performance. And this is kind of a different take. It's kind of a different feel than what I was going for in my shot. But you could always look at something like this and pull things that you like out of it and kind of reformat it for your own purposes, right? It doesn't have to be like perfectly exact, but I can find things in here that I like and kind of just take that into my own animation. And that's kind of like the idea of like stealing like cool stuff, right? It's okay to like steal good stuff as long as you kind of repurpose it and remix it for your own like purposes. So let's watch this really quick and then we'll kind of talk a little bit more about it.
Marcus took my crew from me. You are a murderer. Used my friends to control me. I tried to smuggle them to safety by concealing from them the very weapons I had designed. When I was discovered, I had no choice but to escape alone. And when I did, I had every reason to suspect that Marcus had killed every single one of the people I hold most dear. So I responded in kind. My crew is my family, Kirk. Is there anything you would not do for your family?
Proximity alert, sir.
Yeah, so it's such an amazing performance that he gives, right? It's all kind of in one take, so I can just kind of look at it without having to worry about too many cuts. Another cool thing is that he's facing away to the people that are with him, and he's towards camera, so that means that his acting there, his response as a character is gonna be real, because no one's watching him, right? He can kind of just say the line and say what he feels without anyone like, really watching him. And there's some things in here that I could talk about this clip for forever, but there's a few things in here that kind of directly pulled. We'll watch it again, but there's some things like really small things like the lip quivering when he says this line, like just stuff like that, like the brows kind of twitching. Again, like I said before, all that kind of stuff really just plays into the believability of your character. And as animators, that's really our job, is to deliver a performance that feels real and feels believable, right? So that's what I loved about this clip, is that it just really feels real. And all those little like twitches and like mouth movements, that's all from him really feeling those emotions, right? So that's what we're looking for. And when I see stuff like that, like kind of out in the open when I'm watching movies, I can't help but like geek out over it. I love that kind of stuff. But yeah, we'll move forward here. All right, so there's another clip. It's from The Office. I feel like The Office is super underrated for like acting, right? I feel like it's really great writing, but the acting in it is just incredible, right? And so for those of you who aren't familiar with this scene, this is basically Jim, who has a crush on Pam, right? But she's engaged to this guy named Roy. And this is like a moment where they're hanging out all night. They had a lot of fun together, and he's finally gonna tell her how he feels about her. So let's watch it.
Sorry, babe. I'm just beat.
It's okay. I'll see you at home.
Okay. Hey, don't try to lose too much money, all right? Because
Okay.
we still want a honeymoon.
Hey, Hartford, keep an eye on her, all right?
Okay, will do.
Bye.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Especially after I took all your money in poker.
Yeah. Hey, can I talk to you about something?
About when you want to give me more of your money?
No,
Did you want to do that now?
Look,
We can go inside. Feeling kind of good tonight.
I was just, I'm in love with you.
What?
I'm really sorry if that's weird for you to hear, but I need you to hear it. Probably not good timing. I know that.
What are you doing? What do you expect me to say to that?
I just need you to know. Once.
Well, I can't.
Yeah,
You have no idea
don't do that.
what your friendship means to me.
Come on. I don't want to do that. I want to be more than that.
I can't. I'm really sorry if you misinterpreted things. It's probably my fault.
Not your fault. I'm sorry I misinterpreted our friendship.
Right? Like what's up, dude? What, depth of field? Like camera related stuff. I don't really think too much about that kind of stuff in the beginning parts of it. But I mean, all that stuff is really easy to manipulate though. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in Maya and like, are you asking about like the how to do that, or like if I use that in my shots? It really depends. It depends on the feel of what you're going for, right? Like if I'm doing something that's really pushed and I want to focus in on something on frame, I might use it. But it's definitely secondary to all of the character performances. But like if you're working in like layout, that might be more of a concern for you. But when I'm thinking about the performance, I'm not really concerned too much about the lens of my camera yet, right? Yeah, good question though. So this is a really cool clip though. Did you guys notice that she fiddles with her ring finger, and it's like because she's engaged to? I never noticed. I was like, wow, that's kind of a nice touch. But yeah, it's kind of a long clip, but I wanted you guys to see that progression of him kind of revealing how he feels, right? He talks to her, it's kind of normal, and then says the line, and then it kind of progresses to this moment where he starts to even like tear up even. And I love that like kind of progression in there, and that's something that I kind of borrowed and used in my own shot, right? I have a moment in my shot where the very ending is the most kind of like sad that he feels, and when he finally says that he's done saying it, his eyes get a little bit watery, like a little. He doesn't like have a tear, but a little bit watery. And I definitely stole that from watching this. Also, the little things that Jim does, like when he looks away from her, and like when he looks down. When you're vulnerable and you don't feel comfortable, you tend to look away from the people that you're talking to, right? You kind of like want to get away from their eye contact, and all that stuff in here. Like when he does that, I thought it was really nice, and so I took that and I borrowed that and I put that into my own animation too. So you can kind of see like where I have the character talking to his friend, and then like he's looking him in the eye, and then he'll break away and then come back and then break away again, right? Because his thought process is making him like do that, right? And that's all a part of making the character feel, again, believable and real. They have a thought process, right? And watching all these things from life, we could pull all that kind of stuff into our shots and make them feel more believable, make them appear to be thinking, make them appear to be feeling things, right? So I thought this video was like such a good kind of thing to pull from. And then, so this is me doing my own video reference. So as animators, a part of the process is we will actually act out the shots ourselves, and we do this all the time for every shot that I do. So I'll literally just sit in front of the camera, put it on, have the dialogue rolling, and then I'll act it out, kind of just how I would do it. So I'll show you guys my really bad reference, and then we'll move on.
That depressed feeling's back, you know? Like I know there's more to me than that.
Yeah, so that's just kind of my interpretation on it, right? Someone clapped? Thank you. Oh, I'll just end there on a good note. But yeah, I mean, and this is a part of
Depressed feeling's back, you know?
this is kind of like a part of the process that
Like
actually,
I know there's more depressed feelings.
yeah, we'll just skip that part. I don't like watching myself do it over and over again. But yeah, that's just a part of the process that like I will do many versions before I get something that like I even like. We're not really like trained professional actors, even though we do have like classes at Blue Sky where we do like improv classes and all that kind of stuff. But that is really just for me to like one, feel the shot for myself and kind of give myself those emotions and see what happens kind of naturally when I feel that way. And it's just a good way to like kind of have a blueprint for what you want to do when you go into Maya, into your actual animation. Again, the preparation part is super big for all these things. So I know I'm going to be spending weeks on this shot, so I want to make sure that I'm doing all the heavy lifting before I even like start to get into the computer. So once I have like some good research, some solid research, and then like some good reference, I'll go ahead and like start a blocking pass. Now my blocking is really just what we call key poses. Back in the Walt Disney days, they called these storytelling poses, and they're really just like tentpole poses, the tentpole moments that your character is going to be in to tell the overall story of your shot, right? So it's only be like a few poses, and it's going to look really choppy, but this is what we do before we move forward in the process.
That depressed feeling's back, you know? Like I know there's more to me than that.
Right, so it's just telling you where my character needs to go and where he's going to be throughout the certain moments in the shot. In a later pass, I'm going to go in and like fill in the gaps there, but I need to make sure that where he goes throughout the shot is readable already in this moment, right? And if I was doing the shot at work, this is a version that I would show my supervisors and then show the director to get approval on. And then once they approve this version, I would move on to what we call splining, or like adding breakdowns where I put in more poses and fill in the gaps with more information. So once I get this approved, I'll move on to like my spline pass, which would look something more like this.
That depressed feeling's back, you know? Like I know there's more to me than that.
So in this pass, you could see it looks more smoother, right? I'm adding more information, more performance in there. But I don't really worry about the lip sync in this pass yet. I like to do that later. At this version, I'm really more concerned with the energy, and I want to make sure that all the things are hitting in the way that I want it to. And I know I'm going to build on top of this. I'm going to polish after this, But this is a good pass for me to get in front of, the directors and the supervisors again to get feedback on before I move forward with it. But since this was a personal test, for me, this was just for me to find out where the energy was and like if I wanted to push things in certain areas. So that's the spline pass. And then, all right, so sometimes you work really hard in your shot and you get really far, you spend weeks on it, and then you open your shot and then like this happens.
That depressed feelings, you know?
It's kind of disturbing, right?
Like,
I don't know what happened.
I know there's more to me than that.
Yeah, like, if you guys want to be animators, like, just watch out. But yeah, remember when I said I wanted to do like a really subtle small shot? I lied. But this is kind of just an example of like save often, save frequently, because like you never know. All right, moving on. Yeah, so after you fix all that stuff, you get to, again, the polish pass where I start to add in the lip sync. I start to add in all the small like nuances of the shoulder shaking, of like him breathing, when I want the breathing to happen, like how I want it to feel. When he says certain words now, there's like his lips are trembling when he says certain things. Again, the minutia of all the stuff that makes it feel more real and more relatable. Real people actually do that, but we don't really call attention to it because it just happens naturally. But as animators, we need to be able to call that stuff out and be like, that's a really cool like thing you do with your head. They're like, I'm gonna pull that in and put that into my animation. And we have to be conscious of all that kind of stuff, right? So again, this is the final version after all of the polish and everything.
That depressed feelings back, you know? Like I know there's more to me than that. That depressed feelings.
Yeah, I don't want to show that one yet, but that's basically kind of it for that shot. I think, yeah, kind of as a bonus thing here, let's show this one. So this is another shot I did on Ferdinand, like I said, just a completely different shot, but it's a dancing shot, and like I said, with the research, I go out and find like a bunch of different research, and for this shot, I found this kid who did this dance, and like it blew my mind. Yeah, so I found that clip, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna animate that. And so this is what came out of that. Cool, so yeah, I think that's about it for me, guys. Thank you.